Hi, welcome back to Building Your Path to Success. On this channel, I focus on sharing a lot of information in short periods of time for both high school and college students so that they can build meaningful resumes. If you like this type of information, please give me that thumbs up, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so that you can be notified as soon as the next video is released. Today, I'm going to focus on something that seems very trivial and small, but really can carry a lot of weight. And that's about letters of recommendations. I'm going to focus on today about letters of recommendations on high school students or for high school students specifically. I've talked about letters of recommendations in the past, but I don't think I gave enough information or detailed information. So we're going to do it today. In this video, I will discuss who should write the letter of recommendation. Who do we ask? Who should students actually be asking? What's the purpose of this letter of recommendation? Is it just to fill off a check mark, to check the box and say it's done, or does it really carry some weight? Who needs a letter of recommendation? Who you should ask? And how you should ask for this letter of recommendation. We're going to review all these things. I'm also going to break it down into three groups, specifically ninth graders. I'm going to talk a little bit about 10th and 11th graders and then 12th graders by themselves. Um, so we're going to go through those three groups. We're going to kind of apply the information to everybody and see what we can jump into. So, who should or who you should not ask for a letter of recommendation? This seems simple, but if you never had to ask for letters of recommendations before, you may not know. So, in general, you're going to ask people such as your teachers, current teachers, meaning teachers you may have at this current year or last year, depending on where you are in the year. You can ask coaches if you play a sport, it could be competitive or intramural. Uh, mentor, you may have a mentor, um, an employer, or you may have an activity leader. It could be in or out of school. And this will include things such as Girl Scouts or Boy Scout leaders, robotic club, National Honor Society advisor. You may participate in Explorers. Explorers is a career-oriented program ran by Boy Scouts. You may have an internship sponsor, or you may volunteer somewhere, and the person who oversees your volunteer hours may be willing to write this letter of recommendation. You cannot ask family members. You can't ask grandma, Aunt Mary, um, Pop Pop, or you cannot ask friends. So your letters of recommendations are from people who are connected to you but not related to you and not personal friends. So this is key. The purpose of this letter of recommendation, um, the letter of recommendation is an opportunity for the people who are reviewing whatever you're applying for, a summer program, um, a program for that's career oriented, um, or for college, whatever it's for. This gives them a chance to see you as the student, as a person outside of your transcript. Because if you're applying for something, it may ask for your report card, your transcript. And that's going to talk about your academic, what you have mastered on paper academically. But this letter of recommendation is going to dig deep and go into your character. Who are you as the person beyond, extending beyond your grades? It can talk about your hard work, your dedication, grit, how kind you are. You know, a lot of people have A's, but they can't get along with others in the class. That says a lot about a person. Are you good at troubleshooting? Your intelligence. Are you organized? Are you a leader? Are you willing to take on new challenges? So all this can be addressed. What have you overcome? How about that? All these things address who you are as a person, more of your character. And this shines another dimension into you, opposed to just looking at your grades. The recommender, it talk about skills, specific skills or skill sets that you have learned. Um, and if you have exceeded above and beyond others in your age range or your grade. So there's a lot that this letter recommendation go into, and it really does carry a lot of weight. It may not be as much weight as your grades, but it can carry a lot of weight. Now, who needs a letter of recommendation? Everyone's not going to run around and get a letter of recommendation, but who needs one? Am I supposed to be getting one now? When should I ask for one? So students are often asked to have 2 to 4 letters of recommendations when they're applying for programs. Depending on where you live, they have programs that are um, funded, a lot of STEM programs that may take place on a weekend or after school or in the summer. Every state or most every state has Board of Governor programs, um, uh, governor programs, excuse me, for different things for 11th graders. All these different things are asking so that they can use the recommendations are used as a filter. So, who needs the letter of recommendation? Any student who may be applying for these programs may need to have letters of recommendation. When you go to apply, you get the application. It could be online or a paper application. It will say you'll need X number of letters of recommendations. Um, this usually starts in middle school, but definitely in high school. Programs don't take everyone, so these letters of recommendations, again, are just another filter. Funds can be limited, or they may want to truly select students who they feel are going to be the best fit for the program. And some of the programs will also offer stipends. So they want to make sure that you, the student, are academically ready for the challenge, and that you can work not maybe independently or also work with a group. And these letters can help them to weed out or who they may want to take a chance on. So keep all these things in mind. This is another reason that we ask people, potential letter writers or people who are going to write these letters of recommendations, are you willing to write me a good letter of recommendation? Because people can write things about you, but it's not always going to be kind or highlight you in a positive way. So before you even think about, who's going to write this letter, um, kind of think about yourself as a person. Think of yourself and think, do I go to class every day or am I cutting class? Do I show up to class on time? When I get to class, am I disruptive or am I courteous? Am I willing to participate? Am I doing my classwork? Do I do all my homework? What do my grades look like? Am I respectful? Am I passing? Am I a leader? Do I take on leadership roles? These are kind of things that you should look at yourself and you should be asking before you ask people about these letters of recommendation. Okay, so when you think about who I should ask, I did say you're going to be asking teachers and sponsors and activity leaders, coaches, employers. I say that, but that's just on the surface. Let's dig a little bit deeper. And this is when I'm going to get into grades, academic grades. We're going to start off with the ninth graders. If you're in ninth grade, this is your first year in high school. Now, some schools have middle schools and high schools attached. Um, every school is formulated different, but let's just say you're at a traditional high school, grades 9 through 12, no connection to your middle school teachers. This is your first year of high school. Depending on the program you're applying for, you may be able to ask teachers from 8th grade. If you stay in touch with them, maybe you can email them. We'll talk about this later. However, you may have to ask those ninth grade teachers. They may say, ask your current math teacher, ask your current English teacher for a letter of recommendation. In that case, you don't have a choice. You must ask the person who they're requesting. This is also a good time for me to bring up um, if you are participating in Girl Scouts or 4-H or other programs, you may be able to ask those people. Because if you're in ninth grade, this is your first year that your teachers have known you for the most part. But if I've been in Girl Scouts for 6 years or the last 5 years, they could talk about me over a period of time and my growth and my leadership. Um, so this is a plug in to say, hey, if you're not doing anything else, maybe you need to start thinking about that. Okay, so if ninth grade, like I say, maybe it asks eighth grade teachers, or if it says current teachers, um, you may not have many options. If you're in grades 10 and 11, and you've been in the school for the past 1 or 2 years, um, you are going to have to use your current teachers or the teachers from the year before. It depends on what time of the year it is. For example, if I know I'm applying for a program and it's October, the school year is just starting, and I am just having this teacher for the last 4, 6 weeks, they may not feel comfortable um, writing for a letter for you. So you may have to ask your teacher from the previous year. So if you're in 10th grade, you may have to ask your ninth grade teachers. If you're in 11th grade, you may have to ask your 10th grade teachers if that's an option. So keep those things in mind. Again, refer to the things, how did you behave in those classes? Did you go every day? Did you cut? What was your ending grade? Did you participate? Were you a leader? These are things that, you're going to think about. For the 12th graders, a little bit different situation. You still may be applying for college or summer programs or post-secondary plans, but it's crucial that you're thinking about it right now. Who can write your letters of recommendations for college or post-secondary or for summer programs? You should kind of be thinking about this now so that when you start school, August or September, you have a list of people. I personally say you need 4, maybe 5 letters, even though each college may say you only need 2 or 3, or a program may say 4, or you may need different ones depending. And also think about, are you actually going to be applying for college, or are you actually applying for a different type of post-secondary plan? What is your major going to be? If you're going to be majoring in STEM, you're probably going to need a letter, at least one from math and or a science teacher. They may ask you for one for English teachers. Certain schools are very specific, but still, I would be getting more than it was needed because I may not like this one as much. This teacher could be a better writer, or this teacher may feel like took more time and wrote uh, a more compelling letter. So you're going to ask for a few more because when it's time to send them out for scholarships, you may be able to use those same letters. Let's look at the flip side for everybody. Teachers are not mandated to write you a letter of recommendation or a good letter of recommendation. I'm going to say that again. Teachers are not mandated to write you a letter of recommendation or a good letter of recommendation. Don't assume because it says you need one from a math teacher that your math teacher, who you've cut the class 2 days a week for the whole school year, is going to want to spend their weekend to write you a good letter of recommendation. Often teachers don't have time to write these letters during the school day. These letters are often written on personal time, and who's going to use their personal time to write letters of recommendations for students who were not doing what they were supposed to do? The other thing to keep in mind, people do not have to share the letter of recommendation with you. Often there is FERPA, and FERPA, um, sometimes different colleges, not every college, will ask you to sign something under FERPA saying if you are willing to forego reading or forego your rights or reading a letter of recommendation. I can't tell you what to do with that, but keep that in mind. That means that teachers, if you've done that, teachers are willing to write letters and they don't have to share that letter with you, and the college cannot share it with you. So you don't know what someone has written about you. You could say, oh, no, I choose to see what they're going to say. Now, some people I just want to just make that aware. I can't take with how I feel about that either way, but I need to make that aware. Some schools have policies that they do not share letters of recommendations with students. Often I found that this is usually private schools. They don't want to share the letters of recommendations with students. Um, but those same schools often may say, um, if they may ask you, do you have people outside writing letters of recommendations for you? I'm going to say, just say, no. You may, but you don't have to let everybody know everything. I would say no, because if you say yes, they will often ask you, can you share those letters with us? Um, I'm feel like if you don't want to share the letter, who are you to ask for? It's something else. Don't ask for what you're not willing to share. So because you're students, you can't actually say that, but what you can say is no, no one outside of school is going to write that letter for me. And that's the end of it. But if they do, you can send those letters, or those people outside the school can send those letters to the colleges on your behalf, or you could do it yourself. You can scan it, email it to the admissions person, or send it in the mail. Um, Many schools also uh, work through Naviance or use the Common App, um, and teachers upload, or the counselor will upload, depending on what it is, the letters, or if Naviance is connected to the Common App, those letters will still get sent out through Naviance. So teachers go in and they connect it. If that is the case, still ask those teachers for a copy of the letter of recommendation and ask the teacher, let them know. You see, I'm applying to colleges. I will also be applying for scholarships. Is it possible that I can use this letter as one of my recommendations for the many scholarships I look forward to applying to in the upcoming months? Often they will say yes, and that way you can just continuously make copies and send those off for the scholarships. Now, how do I ask someone to write me a good letter of recommendation? Not just a letter of recommendation. Mr. Smith, I will be applying for the X, Y, and Z, or for colleges for the fall. And I was wondering if you would write me a good letter of recommendation as part of my application packet. You want to ask something like that to the recommender in person, if possible. You want to ask in person, then follow up with an email. Mr. Smith, um, I'm just following up via email about you write me the good letter of recommendation. And when you do that, you're going to want to send them a copy of your resume. That way they know everything you've been doing. Each teacher may not know everything that you've done in previous grades. They may not know that you also work or participate in certain activities. So you can send them a copy of your resume. Also talk about in the email, because teachers have a lot on their minds, what the letter's for. Is it for, I'm applying to several colleges. Below are some of the colleges I'm applying to, but I know we'll be coming up with more. So this could be a general letter for colleges and scholarships, or if this is for a summer program. So you have to kind of let them know what it's for. If it is for a special program or a summer program, which is different than college, you're going to basically ask them in person again, if possible. And then you're going to also send the same kind of email. But this time, you're going to include a blurb of the program. I'm applying for the Villanova Vested program, and this is what the program is about. And it will give me an opportunity to explore um, engineering um, careers and to dive more into the different types of engineering as a high school student. And the deadline for the application is this date. And I'm asking that you can have my letter of recommendation on this date so I can send it in or make sure my application is completed in time. So you want to kind of make sure you do that, give them a blurb. You can send them a link so they can read about it for themselves. And they will be saying to you, well, what's it for? Can you explain that? Um, some programs, and I just want to add this in, will allow teachers with a link to send in their letter of recommendation. Some programs will ask that you send one giant packet as the applicant, in which case the teacher often has to sign the letter, put it in an envelope, seal the envelope, and write their name across the letter, sign their name. Make sure that you get, if it's something that you have to mail in, make sure you collect it from the teacher, say, if possible, I need it back by this date, and get it back from the teacher 2 weeks before it's due. Have everything that you need to have done completed way before that with a brown vanilla envelope waiting for the teacher. And that teacher should have it back to you within 2 weeks. Again, if you're going to ask for send the teacher something in writing, again, you're going to ask in person, you're going to send them an email, and about a week and a half before the date that you want it back to you or before it's due, via email, you want to send them a reminder. Now, if it's something via email, sometimes you'll get an email back from the organization saying, Mr. Smith has submitted his letter of recommendation. Boom, that's fine. But if you haven't gotten it back from Mr. Smith and you don't know if he submitted it, send a reminder about a week and a half out, because that sometimes teachers forget, not intentionally, but sometimes they forget. You don't want to do anything at the last minute, so give teachers plenty of time. Mhm. The other thing I want to say is students often get caught up on titles. Okay, well, as I was saying, students often get caught up on titles, um, CEO, principal, uh, executive director, people's titles, and want to ask these people who have high titles to write their letters of recommendation, write good letters of recommendations for them. As a person who's been in education for years, that's not always the best thing to do. A lot of times I have seen people write a one paragraph letter. The paragraph is exactly the same for everybody, and just write RE at the top and put the student's name. Does not talk about students' character. It doesn't talk about their strengths and what they're going to bring to the organization, it does not highlight that student. It's just a one paragraph, and it doesn't really say anything. So it carries no weight other than the person's name and title that they've worked hard to earn. You do better off asking your teacher who's going to write you a good letter of recommendation, whose class you worked hard in, and that gives them a chance who truly knows you, to write a good letter that highlights you and your strengths. Again, when you ask people, think about all the things that I mentioned earlier. Were you courteous? Did you go to class all the time? Were you on time? Were you polite? Now, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes there's a personality conflict. Sometimes it's people who just don't like people of certain ethnicities, races, religions, and those people sometimes want to be the Gestapo and harm people indirectly. And sometimes students are intelligent, but not always wise to this. So when you have certain feelings, maybe I could skip that person if it's a choice, which is why your outside letters carry weight, because if a person is writing something negative, who's, let's say, the math teacher, but everyone else writes something good. And then you have letters from the outside coming in saying good things. That shows there was something going on with that one person. So you never want to give your hand up for everybody. Just say, no, no one's from the outside is writing anything. Because a lot of times private schools will ask. Um, some other key things just to remember, because I know I've bounced around a lot. Never wait until the last minute to ask a recommender to write a letter. If you are looking through programs and you see, okay, I will apply for this, before and you read through the entire application, like what's the qualifications, what you need to have. Once you identify that this is a program you will apply for, that is when you ask the recommender. Give them the same courtesy of the same amount of time that you're going to be gathering up and working on your essays. Um, if your school has a policy, I'm going to reiterate this one. If your school has a policy that they do not share letters with you, be sure that you do not tell them about recommendations from outside the school. Don't tell them. There's a reason they want to collect information about you, but don't want to give information out. As an adult, I'm going to say people should not be asking for information that they themselves are not willing to share. That is a no-no, especially when it comes to minorities. Um, do be on time. Don't wait to the last minute, especially now with this affirmative action. It's going to impact a lot of things. You are going to have to work harder uh, to get things done. Good luck to everybody. Um, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to share. Oh, seniors, before you arrive to school in the fall, those rising seniors, you should know which 3 or 4 teachers you're going to be asking to write those letters of recommendations. You should have some kind of Excel sheet that tells you each college you're going to be applying to, the number of recommendations they need, if they're needed from certain teachers, so that you can know which teachers you're using for certain things. Especially if you have a system like Naviance, you could just say, I want this teacher to be recommended on these particular colleges. Even if you're going to be submitting them, if the teacher is submitting them that way, always ask for a copy if possible. And again, even if you participate in outside activities, ask those other people for a letter recommendation. 9 times out of 10, they're willing to do it for you. So good luck to everyone. Give me that thumbs up if you like this kind of information. And I will be doing one for college students in weeks to come. Until next time, take care.